right about in the middle of that, probably about this far from the end. I don't have. I will try to get.
I'm just like. When I can't see that, you're stuck. When you're saying there's gonna have to each one nice to
Or you can have it pretty good.
turn it
Right.
to go out the west side and sit back. And then of course turn it again.
Is that turn be like right up where it's coming down? Stuff kind of joining. They might have more velocity.
Well, you guys stay in this.
Alright, thanks.
Yes, I mean, I know your cat.
Okay,
I'm down on Harper Street.
On the corner of the channel and the lake. Yeah, that's right.
Kind of on Doris, kind of on Church.
Oh, I'm surprised, things are happening. We come from Kent's Farm. Life
Oh,
is hard.
Scarborough. I like to drive around for that. Yes, that's my thought. They got that.
Is that where it's
Yeah.
right now? Isn't it closed off? Could be right, but you can still get around there if you have to. We sat back in
I'm recovering. Annie, Annie for.
Oh, I'm new and I haven't tried this off a different way. Well, it's just been great. I've always had an
I'm
idea.
gonna say baby. But
No, the next kitten
we rescued it.
and get rehomed.
I hope it would, but there's like right now. I've never had that much.
Oh,
Just, you know, getting
yeah.
stuff to see having a good life, and to learn it all.
So what happened? You're with a lot of fall, butterflies, and all that stuff. Those are the bigger.
I think it's much more, I think it's
That's probably what I have.
talking about trying to mess around with people. I think it's so choice.
Yeah, the possibly go up back and lay the height of the street.
Oh, they will lay it back. They will lay it back.
So even on the fourth floor, they're gonna put.
Hello, hi, how are you? Good. You don't wave, don't you? No, wave and carry the. Yes. Yeah, I thought so.
So did you get any of your questions? Oh, yeah. Tell us what you're doing, you know.
They love it.
One pump is pumping the water out of the ground, next one is the mouth, then it's the pump in and set the tank. Because the tank is going.
Wow, okay.
So the metal coffer dam all the way down, and then filled up with water.
Oh, maybe.
Pumping that out over the-
Oh, but it was just water.
So I had to leave it in the reading.
Well, they would know.
You still follow the big one.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, I haven't been down since they took
Are you gonna be in?
Yeah.
Well, they pretty much talk about the ladies of the plan. Yeah,
Bring it up to my house. Usually I only have about like 2 bags in there, you can always throw a couple in there if you want.
I always get the MC, but I don't know.
That's up to Pat, you are them.
Good morning. We're all confused.
Oh, it is my
That's so funny. Someone said this is better than you said.
It doesn't matter.
Right, just in case.
I know, I was like.
Yeah, it is. I used to manage an apartment building in Oregon. And I keep finding things, so why did I think travel fast? That's from like.
Okay, we'll get started with our sewer meeting. It is September 9th already. Thank you for coming. Turn it over to Steve Colbrad from Performance Engineering. Can everyone hear okay? Yeah?
All right, so I'm gonna start with an update on the plant, because that's gonna drive a lot of what we're gonna talk about. Aeromod, which is the supplier of the equipment and that, the rep was on site today and scheduled for tomorrow to do a dry startup on the equipment today, make sure everything was wired correctly, hook up the airlines and stuff like that. The plan was to do a wet start tomorrow, start filling the tanks on the new side, so that they could start running that for the next couple of weeks, and we have a substantial completion inspection scheduled for September 24th. However, I know, today, the Aeromod rep that was on site doing the dry startup and was gonna stick around for the wet startup tomorrow, they were talking about the control panels for the old plant and the new plant. The way it's set up, if I understand it correctly, the control panel for the new stuff is just a smaller unit that's like a piggyback of the big main unit for the existing plant. And those two need to be programmed to talk to each other. This guy doesn't do that. Oh, you need to schedule that with the programming guys. And they're scheduled months out sometimes on that. So my boss, the engineer's been on the phone, Tammy from the plant's been on the phone, trying to get this sorted out. We don't know if they're gonna have somebody here by the end of the month or not. We're hoping by the end of the month. We don't wanna load that side of the plant. It'll run, but it'll have to be run by hand, like everything run by hand, all the different switches and mixes and stuff like that. We don't wanna load the plant and then let it sit and go septic. Or find something wrong and then have to unload it, and clean it and that. So for the next 24 to 48 hours, we're not quite sure when we're gonna do a wet start on the plant. We're hoping it's within the next few weeks. We're probably gonna have to reschedule the substantial completion inspection with the USDA engineer from Lansing. We had planned for him to do Matt's, Elmer's, and Grand Traverse, which is the plant, all on the same day. So we're gonna wait and see if we have a new date, or if we get to keep the existing date. We don't know yet. So they're not gonna start up the new part of the plant yet. Once we do get the new half of the plant going, they don't want any new hookups until at least after October 15th, when the park closes. And we can't run both at once unless we have a full load, which would be when we get a lot more people online. The plan was to run the new plant for a while, drain the old half of the plant, do some maintenance and other items on that. And then get both sides of the plant going, when we got more people hooking up early next year on that. So that's where we stand on that right now. There has been discussions on maybe letting some people hook up that are going to just hook up and winterize immediately and be back in the spring. They might allow that. The other part of it, Eagle, who is the state agency, we still have to have the third blower installed, and we have to build an addition for that. And we should have a change order for the next meeting to get that taken care of. So that's several months out. And so they do not want both sides of the plant running without that third blower. The other two new blowers are going, but that means there's no backup if one of those goes out. So if you're trying to run both sides of the plant, one of them, something goes wrong, or you need to do some maintenance on it, you can't do it. But we don't want to run both sides of the plant right now. But Eagle doesn't want us to run. And they don't want us hookups until that's installed, but it sounds like they've softened that they would allow hookups if they know they're just seasonal people and they're not in danger of needing that third blower, to run both sides of the plant until sometime next year. So I talked several different directions around that one issue of the plant. Did I confuse anybody too much? I wasn't trying to be evasive, but it's just, there's just so many moving parts over there right now trying to get this going. And this was a real curveball we got today that, why couldn't Aeromod, why would they send this guy up here for a wet startup knowing that, oh, by the way, you won't be able to run it, you have to wait till you have to schedule these other guys. So my boss did call, I think he left a message with the president of Aeromod today. So has not heard back. That was the call that was made late today. So that's where we stand on the plan. Any questions on that?
Is there a penalty? Yeah. You were supposed to be hooked up, the plant was running into July, August, September. Now you say maybe October 15th, if we get the third blower done, which is going to take another 6 months. Is there a penalty to this contractor?
Well, it's not the contractor's fault for Aeromod doing this to us.
Well, who hired Aeromod?
It was the equipment that we specified to, that was the package they had to use.
So they worked for the contractor.
They supplied to the contractor, yeah, and then they put some people in, but.
My problem is I have two contractors, sorry about their contractors, that I've paid 50% deposit to since June. And you're telling me I'm not gonna hook up until maybe April, or maybe longer than that if my current contractor's got something already scheduled, so they can't come back and do it.
No, we're hoping that we can take connections as soon as we get the new part of the plant operating.
And you're telling me that's not until after the 15th of October.
That's even a hope, and hope is a business.
Right.
So when are you gonna do it, Christmas? Sorry about that, but I don't know who it is, but the fact that we were promised that hopefully we were gonna be done in June, then don't worry about it, we're gonna be done in July. This is September, we're gonna have a inspection, so by the end of September, we can do it. Oh, and guess what? Somebody who's not paying any penalty, I am, but they're not paying any penalty because somebody dropped the ball and they're not gonna pay a penalty. I don't think that's fair.
Yes, sir.
Steve, is Aeromod the manufacturer? They manufacture the rep. Who is Aeromod? Do they manufacture the equipment?
Some of it, not all of it, like the blowers are Arneson blowers.
But in order to
Aeromod is the one that pulls all the package.
in order to jumpstart the programming and whatnot, does it have to be done for Aeromod? Is there a different representative from? I didn't know if Aeromod was a manufacturer. What I'm saying is if they're the manufacturer's rep, the name of the company is Aeromod. There has to be someone else who got a program besides just one.
Well, it's the Aeromod reps that have to do it under the warranty.
Okay. So is there another Aeromod rep from another part of the country that we grab?
They've got two. They said what we heard earlier today was that one of them he's not free for a couple months.
Okay.
The other guy they think could be here by the end of the month, but it wasn't their call and they'd have to check. So that's why we're trying to run this to ground and make sure they understand.
That's a starter for a boiler, that's a starter for anything typically. So I was just curious to know if there was if they were a manufacturer's rep, or if that's actually the manufacturer. Aramod's in your phone.
Yeah, there's 2 reps, and we're hoping one of them's gonna be available before the end of the month. You know, maybe they flush him out in 2 weeks, we don't know. Like, this all came down today.
Yeah, it should have been their responsibility to know that it was started. Right. Yeah.
Well, it was in the contract that
Right.
it would, they would need you would need programming.
Okay.
So, you know, who missed that?
The contractor didn't let them know that it was gonna be completed on a certain day at enough time.
Or, you know, there were a number of eyes looking at the contract and looking at the plan. So I think there's enough to go around.
Yeah, we've been looking at this date today
Yeah.
for a couple of months now. You know, and Aramod knew that, that's what, you know, the guy was here before, for the blower startups. And then they said they scheduled him to come back and to do the dry startup, and that they sent a checklist ahead of that. And Johnny Green, who's the subcontractor that's putting the equipment together over there, they went through the checklist, and then when he was here for the blower startups, he did kind of a courtesy inspection to see any flags that would prevent him having a successful dry startup today, followed by a wet startup. And if there wasn't, so it's scheduled, he came back, and like I said, this issue about, he doesn't do this part. So, all right. Yesterday was an interesting day because all 4 of the contracts we currently have were all working yesterday, because Matt's and Elmer's were doing some punch list items. Matt's got a lot of the restoration work finished up over by the Green Docks, some other areas. They still have some punch list stuff to do in the beach club on some of the manholes there, and they should be doing that either this week or next week. Once they're done with those punch list items, then we could physically let them start hooking people up and making their system go dirty over there. We just want to hold off till we get this thing with the plant resolved as well.
Well, didn't you tell me that there were some things in the lift stations that they needed to start?
Right now they just got some wood blocking under the piping and the clean outs and the air releases and that, and those need to be stainless struts and that. They're manufacturing those and installing those in the next week or 2 as well. So, but they're getting close, and then all they'll really have left to do is then the actual individual, grinder pump installs and individual hookups. So, Elmer's, the paving got done over here at the post office today. That and the curb across from it where those connections are made for those houses. And we opened up a little spot there on Lake Street where we had a little bit of settlement. We couldn't figure out what it was. We opened that up yesterday, dug down quite a bit. I think it was just a compaction issue. Once we got it recompacted, it was a little low, so we just brought in more material and packed it in. I think there was nothing obviously wrong there. I think it was just maybe like compacted in that one spot. But all that got paved today. They got the Pinehurst and the Devo Beach lift stations worked out in their final arrangement. We're waiting on the Arthur Street lift station. We had to order some vehicle rated hatches to replace the pedestrian rated hatches to accommodate traffic on that spot. The actual hatches are going to be delivered on the 22nd. They'll have to get those down to Grand Valley, who makes the concrete structures, so they can put those into 2 new tops for the valve vault lift station there. So we're guessing they can put that one back together about the 2nd week of October. We'll be done with that one, but we don't want that one to go dirty. Right now, the only one that's actually in service is the one at the Pinehurst, because these 2 houses in the post office were on the old system and got switched to the new system as part of this. So that one is going dirty. We don't want Arthur Street to go dirty yet. So what's that?
None of Arthur Street?
No, because we got to work in those structures. So really, we don't want those. But they should be done with that by the time the plant issue is resolved. I'm hoping by the middle of October, we'll have those new tops on. They're gonna reroute the vent tube over to the control panel. And we can be done in that spot.
Steve, would the start of the plant, the non-start of the plant preclude Sally's contractor from running the lateral and making the connection?
I would think so.
I mean, she still hooked up to a septic system, so would there be a reason they couldn't run the lateral from the house out?
Yeah, they can run over, they just can't switch or pipe over.
Right, I mean, but they could do the hard connection lateral from the cottage over the connection to the sewer line.
Right.
And then come back and make the connection to the house when you're ready to go.
Right. And then pretty soon, even if the plant's not ready, it sounds like if it's a one that's just gonna be winterized,
Right.
they're fine with that. And maybe even one that's partially seasonal. But I don't wanna make any promises on that until we get this sorted out.
I'm just thinking, like, save some time from spring, that everybody's already run their laterals and then only have to just make the right connection to
Right.
the house. So, just thought.
All right, any questions on the plant or phase one or phase two before I get into the exciting stuff, which is phase two, which kicked off?
Have you
Yes, ma'am.
resolved the pumps on phase one?
You come with the ejector pumps?